The subject for the readings is home, okay? And I'll read first from the Bible, Psalms. Lord, thou hast been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever thou hast formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting. Thou art God. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In him will I trust. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wing shalt thou trust. Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High thy habitation, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Isaiah. The Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion, and upon her assemblies, a cloud and smoke by day, and the shining of a flaming fire by night. For upon all the glory shall be a defense. And there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covert from the storm and from rain. The work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever. And my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation, and in sure dwellings, and in quiet resting places. Psalms. Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. Hebrews. For every house is builded by some man, but he that built all things is God. Psalms. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. Home is the dearest spot on earth, and it should be the center, though not the boundary, of the affections. Pilgrim on earth, thy home is heaven. Stranger, thou art the guest of God. And from Miscellaneous Writings by Mrs. Eddy. Pure humanity, friendship, home, the interchange of love, bring to earth a foretaste of heaven. They unite terrestrial and celestial joys, and crown them with blessings infinite. Thus founded upon the rock of Christ, when storms and tempests beat against this sure foundation, you, safely sheltered in the strong tower of hope, faith, and love, are God's nestlings, and he will hide you in his feathers till the storm is past. Into his haven of soul there enters no element of earth to cast out angels, to silence the right intuition, which guides you safely home. And from our hymnal supplement, this is hymn number 497, and it's from a poem by Rosemary Cobham called Home. Home is the consciousness of good that holds us in its wide embrace, the steady light that comforts us, in every path our footsteps trace. Our Father's house has many rooms, and each with peace and love imbued. No child can ever stray beyond the compass of infinitude. Home is the Father's sweet, well done, God's daily, hourly gift of grace. We go to meet our brother's need and find our home in every place. And the last thing I'm going to read is a prayer by Mrs. Eddy that she gave to the Mother Church readers. This is the readers who were reading from 1902 to 1905. And this is what Mrs. Eddy sent them. The effect of this prayer is not reversed. God, good, reigns. There is no other mind. Love reigns. There is no hatred, no envy, no revenge. All things are working together for good to those who love good. We do love good, God, and He gives us all our thoughts, motives, and governs all our acts. The divine life preserves our life and health, and they cannot be taken from Christian scientists. And Christian scientists cannot be made sinful. We love God, and God loves us, and is guiding us every moment. This prayer cannot be reversed. This prayer bears fruit after its own kind. It does good. It blesses us and all mankind. So now let's have just a few moments of silent prayer and then say the daily prayer together. Thy kingdom come, let the reign of divine truth, life, and love be established in me, and rule out of me all sin. And may thy word enrich the affections of all mankind and govern them.
Thank you. Right. Sorry, I was hoping we'd have some pictures, but we haven't. But we are having the meeting, and I think that's an achievement in itself. I don't know whether there's anybody here who wants to share some thoughts and inspiration before we open it to the worldwide internet.
I would just like to suggest, Antoinette, if possible, could we have the printout of that? Is it saved on a document on your computer?
Yes.
I'd love if John could put that on the internet for all of our company members, because that's such a beautiful selection of readings. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Really appropriate for here. Thank you.
I think one of the things that, experiencing a little bit of a technical hiccup this morning, and we were talking earlier about the need for all of us to be more alert to the idea that we can demonstrate all sorts of things, but we can't demonstrate over technology. And it just sometimes seems, and I've had a lot of this with stuff at church and so on. I set up the equipment at church for streaming the service on Sunday, set it up, tested it, all worked perfectly. And then when it came to the service, it was a real struggle. And then after the service ended up, I tested it again, and it all worked perfectly. And you sort of think, now, is that technology or is that mortal mind? And you know, speaking for myself, and I think as a team supporting Whitehaven, the movement, and the world, we really need to perhaps address this more conscientiously. You know, Mrs. Eddy, when she spoke, somebody asked her a question about technology, didn't they? And I can't remember her precise words, but she started by saying, "Oh, we can't oppose it. We use it in, you know, it points the way, not exactly to the kingdom of heaven, but to advancing thought. We use it as our illustrations in our talk and that sort of thing." And I think, you know, like so many other things, it's really a matter of claiming dominion. God gave man dominion over all the earth, and that includes the internet, computers, and other miscellaneous bits of technology, which are really just nothing but tools to help us be more effective in spreading the word of the Christ, I guess. So that was my thought. I don't know if anybody else had any thoughts.
Well, I could add to that, John, and for fear of reversing your experience and making you feel inadequate, which I'm sure I'm not going to, because that's actually terribly important, isn't it? The realization that we are all recipients of mind, as we know from this week's lesson. But we had in Stroud Church last week, we had the lecturer Michelle Nanouche, and I had the privilege of returning her to the airport. And the previous day, she'd done a webinar with a church in America, and they were literally, she was in Paris, the technician was somewhere else instead, somewhere in the States, I imagine, and the whole thing literally didn't work until 2 minutes before the thing started, and it worked fine right the way through until the end, and then it failed to work again. So it was actually the reverse of your experience. But these experiences are in fact very much now coming to the fore, and I think it's beholden on people to write these up for the periodical. So we're all, you know, we bring that into our thinking. And we are helped by the thought that, and then there was, she had in fact enlisted the help of an additional practitioner to work on this. So I'm absolutely convinced that you're right. We cannot leave technology out of the whole of the realm of God.
No. Anybody joining us who would like to say anything? I mean, it doesn't have to be about technology. Any inspiration and thoughts that you've had, it would be most welcome.
John, can you hear me? It's John Mordaunt here.
Yes, can hear you, John.
On this similar theme, I once had to organize a meeting in Heidelberg for the Christian Science Board of Directors, and to set up loudspeakers and microphones for 3 days. The first day went very well. The second morning I came down to look at the hall, and the hotel management had cleared everything. There was nothing there. So I met the chairman of the board of directors and said, "It's all been taken down, I'll have to reset it." And she simply said, "John, it's mortal mind. You have got to get on top of it." Similar situations to what you've just been talking about. And we did, and it was reset and harmony was restored. But it can always happen, technology, when you least think about it, or you don't hold it in thought to correct it. On thinking for this meeting, I'd found one of Mrs. Eddy's what I call short paragraphs, which I found very helpful in the sense of the continuing Progress of Springfield. And Mrs. Eddy says in Miscellany, progress is spiritual. Progress is the maturing conception of divine love. It demonstrates the scientific, sinless life of man and mortal's painless departure from matter to spirit, not through death, but through the true idea of life, and life not in matter, but in mind. Thanks very much.
Thank you, John. Lovely.
Lovely. Thank you.
This Vivian, the sentence that I was working with from the last week's lesson was the one about the central life and intelligence around which circle all things in the systems of mind. I felt there was a lot in that to consider, and I like particularly the thought of everything circling harmoniously, which would include technology, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. It's interesting, it circles, it doesn't run into a brick wall.
That's nice. Yes.
I think from my perspective, it joins both of your comments, really, that sense of progress and also that sense of how we're actually functioning here. And two things, the functioning, there's an awful lot in an establishment of this nature that actually have to function harmoniously. And I think the progress that we are seeing is actually really understanding what all these are and how they have to function harmoniously together, and just getting a much bigger picture of what is required in order to be able to open this extraordinary facility. And that goes for both here, Lime Tree, and Charlton Manor. One of the things that I'm sure that we'd like to do possibly on our AGM is just bring that to all of our consciousness, and it you know, not because it's something that is a threat or a if you like a burden, but the excitement of the different parts that come together to make this extraordinary whole, which allows people to come into a place like this, which Antoinette has described so beautifully in her readings, and what we offer in a place like this, which is truly a wonderful thing, and so very precious. And it's so many different people who come together harmoniously and are so flexible about the way that they do this, so that individual members of staff here across the board are prepared to drop everything and come to change their normal modes of working in order that we're covered 24/7. It is truly lovely, and maybe I'll put together a small soup song at the AGM to describe this. I think sometimes, unless one's involved with it, you wouldn't necessarily know. So I think company members might be interested in that.
I'm sure we would be. I think that sounds really good. And I would also like to thank Antoinette for her lovely readings. And it would be really good if we could have the references for that. So I thought they were so helpful.
We'll send them out to everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Right, has anybody else any thoughts they'd like to share?
There's just one sentence from Miscellany that I was looking at as well, that goes, "No greater hope have we than in right thinking and right acting, and faith in the blessing of fidelity, courage, patience, and grace. I thought that was really nice. Really good. It's on page 209 in Miscellany.
Wonderful.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, excellent.
Good stuff.
Okay, well, we said it wouldn't be a long meeting, so we'll say thank you to everyone who's joined us. I'm afraid it didn't work quite the way I wanted, but it has worked pretty well. We've heard everybody's contribution, and I don't know quite how many people have joined us, but I'll find out in a minute. Thank you very much, and I think we'll just call the meeting, end the meeting now, and we'll be in touch by email shortly.
Lovely.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.